Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Women Petpreneurs Podcast with your host, Mary O'Quendell. So my guest today is Amanda Leighton. Hey, Amanda.
Hi.
How's it going?
Going pretty good.
Okay, so I always like to start off with first, how did you get involved in the pet industry?
Gosh, growing up with animals all my life. I remember my mom saying when I was a young teenager, I can't work with animals because it's not a career. Well, my first permanent job, I landed in a corporate world of grooming. So look at me now, 20 plus years later, I made a huge career out of it. So
Yeah, I think that's a lot of us have that same story. Well, it's a hobby, it's not a real career. You can't make
make a
any money
living.
at it. Yeah. We've
Yeah,
we've all heard that. My
yeah,
brother was shocked, all right, that I make a living doing this.
yeah. I remember growing up, my grandparents having a Saint Bernard, and she was the guard dog of their farm. And I didn't know what I was doing, grabbing a hold of kitchen shears. Everybody I know, most scariest, dangerous thing. Here I am, 13 years old, cutting knots out of the dog, and I seriously could have injured her, but she was the most laid back dog you could ever deal. Just don't run from her.
Oh yeah. That prey drive kick in. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, but she would let me do whatever I needed to do, just sit there and cut the knots out. I knew at that age, couldn't have been comfortable, and that just kind of started everything for me.
Yeah. So like a lot of us, you went into corporate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how long did you last?
I lasted just like 2 months shy of 8 years. I started at the bottom. Was a bather for about 18 months and then went into grooming school that was held at my home store, and then took off from there and landed a salon manager position. I was just handed to with no guidance whatsoever how to run a salon, just like, oh, you're one of the top people bringing in income, you could do this. I'm like, wow, okay. Thanks for having a lot of faith, but I had not a clue what I was doing. I'll admit that.
Yeah, you know what? It's sort of like a very similar story. I took the help wanted sign, started as a bather, and literally I'm bathing for like, I don't know, maybe a week-ish. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When the assistant store manager comes in and says, hey, grooming school starts tomorrow, yes or no? Like, yes.
Yeah, they wanted to put me in grooming school within 6 months of arriving, but I didn't have transportation, and I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks until I have a car. And by the time I did get a car, they weren't doing schools, and then it decided that they were going to hold one at my store location. I'm like, perfect. Now that I have a car, I really don't have any place to go.
So, yeah, and I've always said I will always be grateful to my start in corporate. I will also be grateful for corporate for like pissing me off enough to leave and start my own business.
I have to agree. If I had to go back and do it over again, I would not change a thing. I do it over 100 times again. Because I had some of the best experience. I've learned off of probably about 10 different groomers during that whole schooling time, which not a lot of people have that opportunity to learn off of other people and different techniques and build their own.
I mean, I have got probably one of my best friends started at corporate. So we've been friends for over 20 years. And that friendship and that networking has gone for like 20 years. Right. So yeah, I said I would not change a thing too. And I look back at a lot of the interactions that I had, and there's one or two things I'd change. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I don't even think I would change any of the interactions that were there.
Yeah, I would have to say the same thing. I mean, they're some of the groomers that I looked up to, and I saw their amazing side and I saw the ugly side, and I was just like, yeah, I have respect for you, but I don't have respect for you at this level. Um, so and then I too met my best friend at the same salon who went through the grooming school right after I did. She's no longer grooming, but she's like one of my biggest supporters out there.
Right. So after you went corporate, did you go from corporate right into mobile?
No, I was looking for a way out. I had gotten sick, ironically, with tonsillitis. On a Friday, well, Thursday night, Friday, and I was threatened that if I didn't have a doctor's note, I could just look for another job. And I was like, huh. And so I produced a doctor's note because I landed myself in the ER, dehydration. And one of the people I was working with heard that I might be looking for a different job. And she was leaving a private salon that she was grooming at. And they were looking for a spot to fill. So I went and had an interview the next day, and I was hired on the spot without even doing any haircuts whatsoever. It was word of mouth. She saw my portfolio of pictures, and I left 2 weeks later. I've been to a couple small mom and pops, and then that's how I started doing my own.
Okay. So what year did you go mobile?
Oh, 2016.
Okay. All right. So I went mobile in 2002. And there was like no help whatsoever. It was too new. You know, you couldn't run mobile the way you ran a shop. It's just, and it was a little bit of a little bit of a learning curve there. But for me, I think the reason I eased so easily into mobile grooming is because I needed so much flexibility, right? My father literally, while I was still working corporate, he was first in an assisted living and then moved over to a nursing home. And somebody had to take him for doctor's appointments. Okay. So that somebody was me, apparently, because I just have a hobby. All right. Yeah. My brothers had real jobs.
I know that feeling all too well. All too well. Yep.
So I would book his appointments. And, when you're dealing with doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor, you know what? They don't book 6 months in advance. You take what they give you. You know what? He needs this appointment. But usually it would be 2 weeks out. So it was safe for me to schedule 2 weeks and then keep it at that 2-week interval. So what I did is that I would move people ahead in the book, and I've said, you know what, I'm not going to actually set your appointment until about 2 weeks ahead of time because, routing, yada, 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 all that good stuff with it. And that worked so well for me, right? So after my father passed, my husband lost his kidneys, and then there was lots of going back and forth with doctors with as far as that was concerned as well. So there came a point where, I didn't need that flexibility anymore, but I loved that flexibility. All my clients were trained at this point. They were not getting their actual appointment time until 2 weeks before. I had very little no-shows. I had very little, I have to reschedule because I have a doctor's appointment, or, I forgot I was on vacation, because setting it out 2 weeks ahead of time is like, oh yeah, that's right. I can't do the Tuesday that week because I have a doctor's appointment. Okay, awesome. So for me, that ultimate flexibility really drove my entire business.
Yes, I remember when I first started, it was the summer of 2016. And my dad, we had discovered that August had a mini stroke, and then was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia. And I had maybe 20 pets on my client list, and I left it at that. And I didn't have like a routing schedule at that time. My clients knew, they had been with me for a while, that I would be filling them in wherever I could, because my priority was family first. If something came up, I had to take some time to figure out what was going on with my dad. We were blessed that he did not linger with his illness. He left us quickly, about 4.5 months after that. But the downhill drastic change every week was, I left the house in tears, because every time I saw him, he was a different person. He wasn't the same week after week. And he started not recognizing my mom. So I knew I had to be at the house a little bit more often. And then even after my father passed away, it was probably another 6 months before I allowed myself to get busier. And I just needed that time to recoup my brain at the same time. And then I blew up at that point in business. So
Yeah, and I think now that mobile grooming is an established part of the grooming industry, there's there's better guidance now than there was 20 years ago.
I agree. I mean, when I was first looking into being mobile, I used to laugh at, I worked in Covington, and then down the street from us was like Positive Pets, something or other, grooming salon. Well, the gal retired her shop and started mobile, and I kind of laughed and mocked at it. But years later, I started thinking, I'm like, that's actually a really good idea. And I had no idea where to turn to get information, to start up, doing research. I had a brother-in-law who started his own business at a young age and ended up being deeply invested in his business and did very well in his ironwork business. And I asked him for advice, and his first thing is take night business classes and start there. And I somehow stumbled across another mobile groomer. We became friends on Facebook, and then she pointed me to the world of grooming, mobile grooming, and it took me a year after that to get officially launched, but
Yeah,
that was pretty fun.
I do find that most mobile groomers are very colleague-y. You know what? So many of us are just like overfilling with clients who are like desperate for people to come in.
Yeah.
But I can remember back in Connecticut, so there was a bunch of mobile groomers in the area, and every so often we'd all go to like the Cracker Barrel, okay? And there'd be like 14 mobile grooming vans in this one parking lot, you know?
And it's fun to get together with everybody, because you learn from all these different people, what they do, what you do, and all these ideas bounce off of each other. And we're basically like a huge support system.
You know, it is a huge support system. I was like shocked the first time a mobile groomer told me, oh yeah, I book out for the year. And I'm like, what? You know what? That works for her.
Yeah.
You know what? That's what she wants, and that's what she wants. But for me, that's like, oh no, no. I can't do that. And what if I decide I want to take a 4-day weekend? I can do that because I'm only scheduling 2 weeks out at a time. So I can plan that and then move everybody around that time. Okay. So what we learn is that it's probably the most independent way of doing things.
Yes.
So how we schedule, how we route, what days we work, what days we don't work. We're not brick and mortar. All right. You don't know if we're open or we're not open. Okay. Unless you're seeing our van tooling around, then you know what, maybe we're open or maybe we're going shopping. I don't know.
Maybe it's a Home Depot run and we don't have a truck to put the item in, and we just put it in our van.
Seriously, I can remember my daughter when she was at college, she was going to stay in the area and take summer classes. So she had to move off campus and into housing outside. And you know what? That's what the mobile grooming van was for. We just stuffed all the boxes in there, moved her over from the campus over to the apartment. And I just remember sitting there in the van as the kids are like unloading, like, I'm just a driver. I'm sorry, I'm old. You get your friends to unload this van, load it up, unload it. So the kids are there. I call them kids. I mean, they're like young adults, and loading and unloading boxes. And this guy comes running out with this little dog going, oh my God, thank God you're here. All right. I need to get my dog cleaned. And I was like, dude, this is not how it works. Okay.
No.
But that was still new. Okay.
Mhm.
When she did that, I don't think I was in business more than a couple of years at that point.
Yeah, it's amazing because I never thought I'd be as booked as I am. And now, but working on my 7th year, I've cut back. I made a routine like 2 years ago that I was going to take a 4-day weekend every month, and I scheduled it for maintenance. And I have my detail guy come out, set my rig, and take it to get detailed. If he gets done early, great. That van just stays parked in the driveway until Monday morning, and I take it out. That prevented so much burnout because I was go working 6 days a week, and now I'm like, I have 5 days off at the end of every month. I love it. I've taken Wednesdays off because from my previous accident, it's a day of recuperation. I only work 2 Saturdays a month, and they're half Saturdays, and those are for my teachers.
Yeah.
So
I've had friends who went mobile a couple of years after me, and she never worked a weekend in her life.
oh, I totally could do it, but I refuse to work late at night.
And see, that was my thing too. I did not have a problem working weekends, but I wanted to be home, my van cleaned, and in my house before it got dark. So in the winter time, that meant my last appointment couldn't be later than 2 o'clock maximum. Right. So that I could be home, park, clean the van, go in the house before the sun fully went down.
I agree, and that's how I work for the winter months, because we live at the top of the hill, and we can't always see what's coming up over the hill. So when it's daylight, we have easier visibility because not everyone turns their headlights on. A few near misses on that getting into the driveway, but yeah. And in summertime, I'll extend my day. I'll start a little earlier, work a little later, and my weekends become all available for me for a few months.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, right? I would do the same thing. So in the summertime, when the sun is out a lot longer, meant I could work a little later, but it could also meant that in the middle of the day, I could take this nice extended lunch on a lake.
Exactly. I've done that. I've sat in a I'll text a client. I'll be like, you know what? I'm running early. Don't rush. I know you're coming home on your lunch break. I'm gonna sit here, have lunch for a nice hour. Don't rush. And I'll just sit in the driveway because I know I would not be bothered, or I'd be sitting at the lake by their house, and they'll be like, okay, I see you have your lunch. When you're done, just head on over. I'm like, okay.
You know what? And I feel like I should take credit for Uber Eats, really, because I can just remember, talking to like a deli. I says, listen, I really like a sandwich. You guys deliver. I mean, anywhere. Okay. Because I'm like, not actually, I'm the big white van in someone's, on the street here. I'm not anywhere near where you're at, can you like bring me some food? Like throw it in my van window. It'd be really nice.
Yeah, I know a couple times I've had my supply guy that would get all my shampoos and stuff meet me at a client's house, drop off stuff, or have a location in between my client's house, exchange what I needed to get from him, and then on my merry way. And that flexibility was nice
Yep.
when everything works out. But yeah, I think mobile was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah. I've always said that if I had to go back to grooming, all right, it would have to be mobile because I would sooner work for McDonald's than I would in a shop again. I don't think I am any way suited to work in a shop for any reason.
I have to agree. The last two shops I worked at, um, they were not in good
And,
condition.
and to be clear, it's not dissing shops. I just am not the person anymore that I was 20 years ago.
And to tolerate other people's issues.
I just would want to work. I just want to work by myself. Yeah, technically I could like open up a one-person shop, but then people would know what days I was open and what days I was closed.
And sometimes I wish I could throw a cloak over my van and just be incognito.
Oh,
And
no. That was the best thing I've ever did. All right. As I became the stealth groomer. So when I needed a little bit of body work done on the van, and I'm thinking, you know what? I might as well get the van repainted. It's time. Okay. So they have to remove all the letters to repaint. And I'm thinking, I am now this plain old white van. There's no letterings on it. The stealth groomer. And the first time one of my clients complained about it, okay, I explained to her that I am secretly, I'm secret groomer. I am so high end, you can't even call me. Only way you get on my schedule is by referral only, okay? And plus graphics were gonna run me like $2,500 at the time. I said, when I grabbed that empty coffee can on her counter and said, graphics cost $2,500. And I just shook the can. She goes, nah, I like the idea that you're only by referral now. I'm like,
I know I hate that, like, sometimes I have to drive out of my area for service, and I wish I had like this big old magnet across the back. Out of service.
people, if you have to dial 1 in the area code for your mobile groomer, she's out. She's there for another reason.
Yes, and it's just, I'm like,
I can remember that same trip, and while I was moving my daughter back and forth, and I'm sitting in traffic there, and I see the woman next to me. All right, and she's looking at my van, and I can see her calling me. Okay.
I've had a few of those. I'm like, really?
I'm not from this area. You have to dial 1 in the area code. I am not from this area. Don't call me.
Or you're sitting at a light and they roll down the window to show the door out the window. It's like, yeah.
Well, I will tell you, this is why I recommend magnetic business cards. Okay. So back in the beginning, I am sitting at a light with somebody and they're like, can we get your business cards? And it took 2 flings, flicked it out. The second one stuck to the side of the car and off they went.
Oh, that's perfect. I'll just throw something at you,
All right. So we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Okay.
And we're back. So one of the things I'm going to say that's a whole lot different now today than it was when I first started was the availability of business coaches. And there was always business coaches, always. Okay. But this was the problem, right? So when I first started, I got myself a score advisor, which was the best time I have ever spent. Okay. And he gave me really solid business advice for any business. Okay. I also took a couple of tax classes through my Chamber of Commerce. It was, again, some of the best education I have ever received on how you get nailed by any of the tax departments. Okay. And how to avoid that. Right. And so those are some really good stuff. But again, it's very generalized information. Right. So I got information on how to run a business. I couldn't find is information on how to run a grooming business.
Which
How,
is totally different than running a
how
store.
to schedule, how to route. You know
Mhm.
what? Software today, so much better than what we had. So to tell you about my original, I've always been a very techie person. Give me something to make my job easier, and I will love you forever. Right? So I did buy the original software accounting. Oh my God, this stuff was horrible. It was basically a glorified Excel sheet. I tell people to this day, I hate Excel sheets. All right.
Oh,
Oh, don't send me something on an Excel spreadsheet. Don't do that. Okay. So bad that I went paper and pen, and to this day, paper and pen still works for me because of that early software. Right. The earliest software for like clients was Kennel Connection, and it was actually really good, except that it was, here's Pooh Bear. Pooh Bear saying hi to all our YouTube subscribers.
hi, Pooh Bear.
But it was PC only, and when I switched to Mac, I had no software anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you, for like new businesses, software out there is extraordinary.
Oh,
Use
yes.
use it. The,
I agree. I know when I started corporate, all it was pen and paper, and then I was volunteered to go help a new store that opened up down in Tukwila, and they had a computer system. I'm like, oh, whoa. Well, that location was, you'd see maybe one or two clients a day. So I got to explore their system and kind of see how it worked. Meanwhile, I'd go back to my home store and still paper and pencil, and they couldn't figure out, oh, computerized? Oh, that's never gonna work. I'm like, it really does work. I mean, you take that learning curve, but
no, that's it's out there. I still have, and now it's a souvenir for me, but I have my original index cards from when I went mobile.
I found mine like a couple months ago. I was like, oh damn, these are old.
Yeah. They're sitting in a drawer. And they were my original cards. So anyway, technology is good, use it. Okay.
I agree.
And what I'm also seeing that is really good in this industry is that, and maybe it's the newer generation of groomers, all right, who value coaches specific to our industry. All right.
Yes.
People who know what exactly it is we need and can help us get, past the generalized business. And you're right, take business classes, take all the business classes. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Business in itself doesn't change much. Technology changes a lot.
Yes.
Marketing changes a lot.
Yes. When I started going mobile, I want to say it was 2017. I was reached out by a local news crew. They had like interns, and one of their projects was to reach out to a small business and develop a website for them and do a little commercial online. So when you go to their Facebook page, you'd be like a little commercial and a little sidebar. And so I thought, okay, I don't really need this, but this would be kind of cool. And the price is right monthly. And that gave me a leg up. And it's kind of funny because even to this day, I had downgraded that little package I originally started with. My husband will be on his tablet and he's like, damn, every time I open this, there you are. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And here's my commercial running on his tablet. And it's ironically, he's like, I call, but I can't get my dog in. As my two stinky dogs are laying beside me. But yeah, that was the greatest exposure ever.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to get really good exposure. Now, it's
Mhm.
always it's a really bad exposure, right? So one of my side businesses was it was a brick and mortar. It was called Hands and Paws Reiki for All, and it was energetics for people and animals, right? So I was the animal person. My business partner was my people person. So we had a great location. The rent was stupid cheap, but it's still a fairly new concept. So we thought we needed marketing. Okay. Unfortunately, all right, they marketed like they would any other business. They didn't know anything what made it special. All right. So it was a monument, and it wasn't cheap either. It was a
Oh,
monumental waste of money because they didn't know our business and didn't know how to put those key phrases in and how to market it so that it would appeal to our audience, right? And had we had somebody who understood what it is we did, it probably would have been a very, very different experience. Okay.
mhm.
One of the best marketing I have ever got, the free marketing you cannot put a dollar value on, is I would put in press releases to my local paper. Okay. Um, Press releases, if they're well written and they are not actually an advertisement for your business, okay. So you're
Mhm.
actually telling them something. Okay.
Yes.
Will could get the attention of the business editor who's always looking for those feel-good local stories. Right. I have had 4 articles done on my business. Okay. Phone rings off the hook when that happens. In fact, the first time they did it, they put me in the Sunday Women's Magazine. And I remember going to a house, and this was now 2 years afterwards. And this woman saw the article, kept the issue because she didn't have a dog. She knew she would have a dog. 2 years later, she got a dog. She called me. I really credit that initial article with taking me from doing okay to doing fabulous, because mobile grooming really at that time was the most effective was word of mouth.
Yes. I occasionally will take on something here or there. I'm not really looking for clients, as you know. I sometimes will, if it's in an area I'm going to be in anyway, and I have a filler spot, I'll take one on here or there. And but I have very stiff stipulations that they have to stick by, and some will take it, some won't. And I love my regulars. If you say, hey, I want to be on the first Thursday of every month at set time, aces. That makes my day easy.
Well, it also allows us to pick and choose our clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of my most fun client, okay, and the whole inspiration behind holistic pet grooming, the book, was Pepe, the evil Chihuahua. And mom left me a message in my message, which clearly stated it wasn't taking in new clients. And she just called saying about her evil Chihuahua who was banned from yet another shop. And she knows I'm not taking in clients, but maybe I might know a groomer who can groom evil Chihuahuas. And I just sat there and I just laughed. And I'm like, I had baby the Chihuahua at the time. And I called her back and I'm like, well, what other kind of Chihuahuas are there?
I mean, growing up with Chihuahuas, yeah, they are little. They can be a little evil things. They're more vicious than my mutt over here. But so can every
The
other
only
dog. But
dog in my 20 plus years that I could not get near, okay, was a Chihuahua. Okay. And yeah, we all know about the mythical Chihuahua that is so sweet and kind, loves everyone. We know it exists.
yeah,
Yeah. But anyway, she was a great client. So she literally, her tip was the grooming price. She was so grateful to get her dog done.
yeah. I gotta say, one of my favorite clients is one who started reaching out during the pandemic, and he really wanted to get on a schedule. He owned his own business. He understood how things worked, and we were all in lockdown and we couldn't do anything. And which sucked being as mobile. We could sit in a cab, go or drop the dog off, and back, slide the door closed. We just exit through the little side door and can groom dogs without human contact. So when we did a little powwow get together down the street from me, a local news crew showed up and did an interview with a couple of us, and I was one of the ones on there. And I hadn't really said a lot to anyone, but this client who I've been in communication with weekly reached out and said that was the best message to have put out there. And just way to go. I hope to see you on the road. And I know I'm probably last on the list to see since I am a new client, but I'm hoping you'll come see me. And he has been such a loyal client for being so patient.
Yeah.
So yeah. But there's
So-
a few I've let go that woo-wee.
Now, grooming though is a very physical job,
It is.
right? And I decided back years and years ago when I first launched positive educational training, I knew I could not groom forever. I had a husband with chronic medical conditions. We did not need two broken down people in the household at the same time, right? So I needed an exit plan, and I needed an exit plan before my body broke down, right? So that's why I launched positive educational training.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what your plan B is.
My plan B, and hopefully I'm able to launch it soon after a few bumps and bruises along the way, is positive approach coaching, helping groomers become their own business people, whether it be shop, mobile, house call, in-home grooming, or if it's a business that is struggling already that exists, I would love to step in and help you guys out because we all deserve a chance to succeed in life. That's my whole goal is to retire completely from grooming in 3 to 5 years. But like you said, our bodies take so much abuse from grooming, especially the big guys, that this had to be my exit strategy. And with a previous accident late last year, I'm finding I may have to do this a lot sooner to retire than I wanted to. My body's just not healing as fast as I would love to. I love grooming, but I am listening to my body and it's saying, we're breaking. We can't do this.
Yeah.
So shorter days and more time off, and my body is enjoying this week. In the middle of 5 days off, it's loving it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I initially wanted to retire at 55, and then I watched 55 come and go. Okay. And I'm like, I got to set a date. I have to set a specific date to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I did. Okay. But I have found my business has done what was my side business, didn't really take off until I devoted my time and attention to it. So yeah, I set the date, set that last appointment, and you know what? And I'll tell you, when you do that, it gets a little scary.
It totally does. And right now, I've been blessed to be with my husband for well, we've been married almost 10 years, and it was a Vegas style wedding. A small budget. If you can make it, you can make it. If you didn't, it's okay. We had always planned to have a ceremony at home, so we decided this year is the year. And I would love to just stop grooming now and just full bore in, but that scary motion of, hey, that money from grooming isn't going to be there, and I still have to finish paying this. I'm in a pickle. So I'm adapting, taking fewer clients during the day, still doing PT every day. Well, not every day, but in-person PT and at home PT. I'm hoping in a year I could be step away from it completely.
Set
That
a
is the
date.
goal.
I'm going to tell you, set a date because
December
until,
31st.
okay, I'm going to hold you to it.
I know you will.
So September 1st this year or September 1st next year?
No, December 31st
Oh, December 31st of this year.
this year.
Okay, I'm marking that on my calendar.
I will write that down because I will forget.
No, seriously, write it down. Okay, which means you don't schedule dogs past that date.
Yes. I mean,
I'm going to tell you, as the date approaches, it was sweating. And then the last day came and I went home and it was like this emptiness.
yes. What do I do now?
What does I do now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I took a full week off to like decompress because nothing was getting done. Okay. And I was in the middle of a move out to Washington. But you know,
It's a huge step to take.
it is a huge step to take. All right. So give yourself some grace, set the date, and you don't, as much as you want to schedule one more dog, don't do it. Set the date. Put the van up for sale.
Yes, because I know selling that van could last me several months.
Yeah. Well, that was it too. I had a little bit of a cushion because I sold the van.
Yes, and that's great about mobile grooming. So vans hold so much value when they're kept up nice.
Yep.
And even some of the older vans, I had a love-hate relationship with my first rig. I called it my money grubbing, gold digging whore van. Because every time I turned around, she was back in the shop for something, and
Yep.
it was $500 here, $1,000 there. This needs done, that needs done, and I'm sitting here like, am I ever gonna get ahead? And then suddenly I found like I have more than enough to put a down payment on it.
Yep.
And then I had a minor breakdown. The leaf spring snapped in my old rig. I managed to drive it. Took me 2 hours to drive it home with a snap leaf spring. And this is one of those shuttle buses. And my husband drove behind me. He goes, every time, honey, you turn that corner, that van just kind of leaned a little further over. And I was like, yeah, driving it from Tacoma to Renton, 2 hours drive home, up a hill, down a hill. Washington is not flat by any means. But and then my insurance company had a tow company come pull it out because I had not figured out what was broken. I'm not a car guru. But when they had pulled it out of my driveway instead of driving it up onto a flatbed, they pulled it up over under power lines where the AC unit was sheared off, destroying the roof. So thank you, insurance company. You totaled my van and allowed me to get away in hails. But that took 6 weeks of no work.
Yeah.
That was the hard part.
All right. So how do people get, so if anyone is interested in your coaching services, how do they get a hold of you?
They can reach me on Facebook at Positive Approach Coaching, or they can email me at positiveapproachcoaching@yahoo.com.
Okay.
Or they can text me at 206-718-3166.
Say that number slower.
206-718-3166.
Okay, very good. So I wish you well with your coaching career because I think it is so needed in our industry.
I wish I had one when I started
I wish I had one too when I first started.
because there was so much I did not know that I found out on my own, and I was like, dang, I did this wrong.
Yeah, no, not wrong. You either did it right or you learned a lesson.
I learned a lesson.
Yeah, we've all learned lots of lessons, but I would have wished I would have had a coach to get me up and running faster.
Yes, I
Okay.
agree.
So
Yes,
I wish you well, and
thank
I
you.
appreciate taking time out of your day to be here. And everybody join us next week when I interview another woman making a difference in the pet industry.